with Modern Japan, and we are in the conference room at Modern Japan with a longtime friend of mine, Brian, with DuraSlic. And today we're going to talk a little bit about ceramic coating, DuraSlic, what they do, and how it's relevant to a lot of you guys in the automotive world. So, Brian, thanks for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Appreciate it. And we've known each other for several years now. We worked together first on our project Tacoma. So that was a cool one. And I got a really great opportunity to see you work and really see the passion that drives you as both a detailer and a retailer and wholesaler of ceramic coating product. And DuraSlic, having now worked with the brand for the last 2-3 years and really gotten my chance to have hands-on with it and beat the piss out of it, to be honest.
Yeah, right?
Product's fantastic. It's resilient. And so I wanted to, first off, wanted to give this an opportunity to the community to understand ceramic coating at a deeper level.
Okay.
So to get started, let people know, let's learn a little bit about you. How did you get your start in the detailing world with DuraSlic? Where did you start and how did you get in that process?
Well, at 13, I woke up one morning and my dad was like, you can either clean the kitchen or go and wash and wax my car. So I went and washed and waxed his car, spent all day on it. He came out. He wasn't a good job guy. It was the first time he told me I did a good job, to be honest with you. And he said, yeah, I think you really have something here. And I kind of kept that in the back of my mind. And I went through some jobs, once I got into the workforce and everything. And then I had an opportunity to work for a detailer. And I worked for a mobile detailer for a day, got fired.
What were you fired for?
I got fired for using the wrong product.
Okay.
The guy told me go get the white bottle and wax the car with it.
What'd you instead of wax, what was it?
It was leather cleaner. Or it was leather lotion, sorry.
Okay, so you leather lotion to car.
And then he got mad at me, and me being who I am, I was like, well, maybe if you marked your bottles, I would have known what I was using.
Appropriate response.
He didn't like that too much. He did not like being told the truth. And he said, you can go home for the day. I lived in Tustin. I was in Garden Grove. He left. Just left me there.
Wow.
Yeah. Nice guy, right?
Fantastic.
Yep. Said I'd never be anything in this industry.
Fantastic.
So I found my way home, and I decided I'm not going to let this guy deter me like that. So then I got into more detailing opportunities. I worked for a guy at Cadillac of Tustin Ranch, and he took me under his wing and showed me basically how to detail a car the right way. And that transferred into doing overspray removal for a nationwide company for some years. And then that transferred to moving back east, and I ran a shop for a guy, and he wanted to get out of the business. So I came to work one day and he said, you could either take this over or go get another job. So I took it over, and that just kept kind of springboarding me into where I'm at today. So after I sold my business, I went to work for a company called Pro Products that manufactures detailing products. And then I started learning the industry, learning the ins and outs of the industry, meeting a lot of people, doing a lot of training with distributors, stuff like that. So that kind of rose me up through the ranks. And then ceramic coatings came out, and I started to work with them more and more. And I got really interested in it because it's a way to protect a car that's, waxes and polymers don't last very long on a car. So this was a way to protect my work for a longer period of time. So I got into that, and we had a coating at that company, but it wasn't very good. It was good, but it wasn't really good. And then I started working with a distributor that was carrying DuraSlic. And we started doing trainings and getting everybody certified on this coating. And I got lucky, and DuraSlic called me and offered me a job, and I took it. I jumped on it.
So on that note, I think what brought us originally to you guys talking about DuraSlic is there's a lot of ceramic coating companies out there that are essentially trading companies.
Correctly.
Yeah, so they find a product in another country or another location, and then they slap a label on it, give it a name, do some marketing and branding, and then they call it their own ceramic coating company. They don't really have the development aspect of it, the research aspect of it, nor the passion of it. Now, there are companies that do all that process, but there's less of those than more of the marketing companies. So when we were doing our research on the Tacoma and building this Tacoma for SEMA, it was one of the big question marks is the Tacomas are kind of famous for having bad paint jobs.
Yeah.
They're not durable, and the clear coat is more on the thinner side of things.
Absolutely.
And then our intention was to take this car and thrash it and make it into an overlanding and off-road vehicle.
Yeah.
And then drive it through bushes and all sorts of insanities.
Which you should be able to do, right?
Yeah, from the factory, from the get-go. So we're doing our due diligence on who we'd like to work with, and DuraSlic came up as this company that was different. What was interesting was you guys are the chemists. You guys are the ones that formulate it. You guys produce it. You iterate it, and you're constantly applying ceramic coating into different applications in different ways, and some conventional, some unconventional. So
absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about DuraSlic as a company. How from start to finish, how do you guys develop a product, right? How are you involved? Like, what makes you different than everybody else if you're not a trading company?
Okay, so we actually employ a really good polymer chemist, right? You need a polymer chemist to make these ceramic coatings. So we employ a gentleman named Steve that is the polymer chemist, and then he has a team of chemists underneath him too. So he develops the product, the starting product. Then it comes to me. I lay it down, see if it works, what the ins and outs are of it. And then if I have a problem with it, I send it back to him. He fixes it, and then it comes back to me again. This is not an easy process by any means. It takes a long time to develop a product. Even the most simplest product could take a year to develop and be competitive and usable in the market, right? We need these people to be able to install this coating. Can they install it correctly? Is it easy to install? And once it's installed, is it resilient? Can it be hydrophobic? And can it withstand the environmental conditions that it's going through? So once we get to that point, then obviously it goes to the market. As far as DuraSlic, we are a manufacturer, one of the largest manufacturers of stencils for motherboards. And we make the solder that goes behind the motherboard. So if you turn a motherboard over, it has a silver line going through it, right? So no one sits there and solders something. So we have a stencil, and it gets almost like screen printed onto that. So as things got smaller and smaller, we needed to make a coating that would allow you to release this stencil without bending it. If it bends, it's useless. It has to be re-CNC'd again. And it has to let the solder come out so the next batch can go through without it sticking to it. Okay, and solder is a little bit abrasive too. So we needed a coating to stop it from rubbing the metal, right, too much. So we came up with our spray-on self-leveling coating that can handle all those conditions. From there, we started to translate that into commercial style coatings, which is another part of our business called NanoSlic. And it handles like doing graffiti protection, coating stainless steel stuff, coatings like that kind of application where they hit an oxidizing surface. It can really attach itself to it. And then that transferred to starting to make car coatings. And that's where we're at now. So we've been doing car coatings for about 6 or 7 years now, and it's been pretty successful. We're still working our way up in the industry. Of course, brand recognition is everything. You know that. That's what you do, right? So we've made increasing steps to get that brand recognition. So the product is sound, but people have to know about it, right?
Well, talking about that, there's an industrial aspect which I would imagine is harsher than when it comes to car coatings.
Absolutely.
So that, can you tell me a little bit about the motherboards? I mean, soldering, it seems that it would be a higher temperature than anything that a car would deal with.
Correct.
So what kind of temperatures do you guys have to deal with on that side? What kind of material differences? How does that come into play when you guys develop in automotive? Because that's fantastic. If you to develop a product that's horrifyingly resilient to harsh conditions.
Yeah.
How does that apply into the automotive side of things? I think that's a good selling point.
I'm sorry. You know our coating because it's on the rims of your truck.
Yeah.
That's our self-leveling coating. That's our stencil coating that we put onto the stencils. And it self-levels, so it lays down at a thicker coat, right? Most coatings lay down at 200 nanometers on the paint of a car. That coating lays down at 400 to 600 nanometers. So it's going to be, easily 3 times thicker than the coating that we have on the car. Okay, because only so much can sit on the paint and adhere itself to the paint. All right, you can layer it to make it a little bit thicker, but it's to the naked eye, you wouldn't even notice it.
Let's get into we'll talk a little bit more about the resilience of things with numbers later on, but let's get into, for the layman, so someone that doesn't understand a ceramic coat, you're as an automotive enthusiast, you're going to hear a ceramic coating a lot. There's a million of them out there. There are different price points, right? So let's talk about a ceramic coat. What is it doing? Like, what do you do to prepare a vehicle for a ceramic coating? Because earlier you had mentioned that you're protecting your work.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, when you're ceramic coating a car, what's the most important part in that process? And then the ceramic coating itself, what is it doing?
Okay, well, let's look at it for the uninstaller or a detailer, right? You put all this time into correcting a car, which would mean taking out any imperfections in the paint, as many as you can get out, right? Bringing the paint back to better than new finish, right?
Well, and that's on that point, new. Yeah. Does it mean that it's perfect from the factory?
New does not mean it's perfect.
Okay.
It absolutely does not. Now, it's good enough, right, to get someone to buy it, right? And you saw that with your truck. Your truck was pretty much new when we came here, right? And we spent hours working on it.
Yep.
Okay, and it's a white truck too.
Yep.
And we still spent hours to bring that out. You know what I mean? Because a car not only goes through stages where it's sitting in spots and that hurts the paint, and then it gets moved on a truck and that hurts the paint. So all these things, then it goes to the dealership, and some kid that applied at the dealership runs it through the car wash. That hurts the paint. It sits out on the lot. Lot guys come. That hurts the paint. They wash it and dry it. They don't soap it. They just hit it with spray and dry it, right? That all those aspects that the car goes through, each of those things creates scratches, swirl marks, stuff like that. Not to mention if someone sees a scratch, then they have to start compounding on it too. So at that aspect, a good detailer knows how to take that and level it all down, right? Which means we're removing some clear coat. So let's just take that for example. At best, your clear coat on your car is half of a business card. Okay, that's the level of variance we have when we're working on a car as a detailer. So if we go through that, the car has to be repainted. You can't repair that. Okay, so we compound it. We take a little bit of clear coat off of it, right? Now, if we take ceramic coating, we're adding a little bit of clear onto the top of it, but we're adding basically a sacrificial layer. To be real about it, it's a sacrificial layer that can be removed and reapplied without digging into the clear coat again. Okay, so the ceramic coating will not only protect my work as a detailer, but it protects your car as an owner. Okay, we're adding a UV protectant to it if it's a good coating, and we're adding scratch resistance, chemical resistance, and sometimes we're adding also, in our case, we're adding oleophobicity, not only hydrophobicity. So hydrophobicity will break water or bead water like we see in the video behind us, right? Where oleophobicity protects against oil-based products, okay, that are detrimental to the hydrophobic layer on a coating. So we're adding all that kind of protection to the paint. And it's a permanent adhesion to the paint, if that makes sense. It's adhered permanently. We have to remove it. No matter what, it has to come back off. Yeah, mechanically come back off. It doesn't just wash off. All right. So, long story short, we're adding this protective layer that is easier to take the environment than your paint would. If you keep compounding on your paint, you're going to end up going through it eventually. Or you end up with a paint job that has spots that are starting to oxidize and stuff like that.
So oleophobicity, let's go into that. So that's kind of a differentiator for you guys. And how does that translate into the real world? So oil-based stuff, you're not just going to take a gallon of oil and just dump it on your car randomly. So and out in the real world, what would that translate into? What are you protecting against in real world elements?
Well, out in the real world, I don't know if you ever ride motorcycles or you know guys that ride motorcycles, they will not ride in the middle of the lane, right? They'll always ride to the left or to the right, right? Because everything that drips out of your car, you know, if you have an older car, it's dripping oil, it's all sitting in the middle of the road, right? So a light rain starts, we start to see that kind of oily look on the road. All that gets splashed up onto your car. So that's hitting your car and it's sitting there and the oils are now attached to your car. So we need something to protect against that. Another oil-based substance would be tree sap or road tar.
Oh, oil, tree sap's oil-based.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you're not only does it have an oil consistency to it, it sticks to the coating. So you have to remove that with IPA or isopropyl alcohol. Okay? So that's detrimental to the hydrophobic layer of a coating. Ours, it's not detrimental to.
Yeah, I mean,
so you can remove these substances without affecting the hydrophobicity of the coating.
That's a big one. I think tree sap is one of those ones that I think every automotive enthusiast knows and hates. So when you're cleaning that and you run across sap, it's horrifying.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Our coating or another coating, tree sap just hits and sticks. Okay, so you would not be able to get it off without using some kind of chemical to get it off, and we have to protect against that.
So let's go into something I think that might be kind of fun. So you began your DuraSlic is part of a company called NanoSlic, and you guys are essentially creating coatings for an industrial application.
Correct.
So a fun question I was thinking about was, what are some other unconventional uses of ceramic coating that you're seeing in the industry as it evolves?
Are we talking automotive or are we talking just in general?
Anything in general. I think people that are detail geeks or guys that are automotive people, if you're going to invest your money into, and it's not cheap, it's going to be a lot of money for paint correction and then getting a ceramic coating. Mm-hmm. I think it would be illuminating to automotive enthusiasts if they knew that the same substance they're using for their car is in aerospace, is in boats, is a different thing. So in the industry as a whole, where are you seeing some of the unconventional uses of ceramic?
Oh, we have a lot of different areas where we sell NanoSlic to. In the electronics industry for sensors and stuff like that, you need that kind of coating to protect those things. We've had companies, some of the biggest car companies call us to try to test our coating on their sensors for the car internally versus the sensor that's just sitting outside that says, hey, you're getting too close to this car. But you can use it in kitchens. You can use it in bathrooms. We have a shower. We have something for the glass in your shower that will help keep the water spots down. Soap residue sits and connects itself to the glass. So there's a way to protect that from happening. You can seal concrete if you can get it to be, if you could spray it on there and get it thick enough, you could seal concrete that way. There's many different ways to use ceramic coatings, and it's impressive the ways that people have come up to do it too.
So what's the harshest application that you can think of?
What do you mean by harshest?
So in terms of temperature tolerance or just abrasion, what's the craziest thing that you've heard of that ceramic is being utilized for?
Machinery, like heavy machinery, stuff like that.
For as a lubricant of some sort, or just for durability, so that they
durability, protection. Okay. But it has to be a spray-on self-leveling coating like we have.
Is it more for aesthetic, or is it more for functionality, like corrosion resistance?
Corrosion resistance.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I just did a Jeep Wrangler, and it was brand new. So we cleaned all underneath it and all the frame and everything, and we sprayed our DS1200 on everything instead of where if all underneath everything, the whole frame, every shock, everything. And that took the place of doing traditional undercoating, because undercoating, it can't be put on every part underneath the car. And if it lands on your muffler or your exhaust pipe, right, it's going to be stuck there until it burns off.
Yeah.
Where our ceramic coating could hit everything, it doesn't matter. It's not going to smell if it gets hot, and ours can take the temperature of an exhaust too.
So let's segue into that. There is multiple uses for ceramic coating on automotive vehicles. It's not just for garage queens and show cars, right?
No.
So obviously we talked earlier about our Tacoma and knowing that you're going to be out in the elements with sap, dirt, dust, garbage, whatever. You could have trees and brushes scraping on it. A bear might try to scratch it. There's all sorts of things that you'll encounter in the wild.
Absolutely.
So off-road vehicles, knowing that you're going to go out into the wild, you mentioned 1200, DS 1200, knowing that that's your harder, more durable application.
Correct.
So off-road vehicles, can you walk me through it? Why would you do a ceramic coat? If everybody thinks ceramic coatings for show cars and garage queens, why would you put it on an off-road vehicle? What's functional about that?
Well, it's going to protect against the dirt. Like the dirt is going to be now stuck to the ceramic coating versus stuck to your paint.
Yeah.
So theoretically, if it's maintained correctly, when you get off from going through the dirt and the mud and stuff like that, the pressure washer, the initial hit with the pressure washer should take 80 to 85% of what's on there off with just that action. Okay? So then now you're not, the heavier stuff, you're not washing into your paint, because once you do that, that scratch is there now. Okay? If the scratch is in the ceramic coating, we can remove that and reapply. When you go through brush, like bushes and stuff like that, now some of it, maybe whatever is pointed towards the truck is going to make a deeper gouge in the truck. We can't protect against that, right? That's just too much. You'd have to use paint protectant film to protect against that, and even that may fail. But anything that's kind of just gliding by the car, the scratch would be in the ceramic coating versus being into your paint.
And you talked about that, the whole purpose of it being a sacrificial layer that's correctable versus
Correct.
a ceramic, versus the clear coat, which once you've gone through that, you're at no point of no return.
Yeah.
Right. So off-road vehicles, so I guess I would say for cleanliness purposes as well as durability, you get the benefit of both.
Yeah.
Right. Now, how much punishment do you think, I mean, this is anecdotal.
Yeah.
But how much punishment do you think an off-road vehicle could take? You have two applications here. You mentioned the 1200 underneath the Jeep, which rock crawlers are going to bang against all sorts of stuff, but you also just picked the harshest, strongest thing you got.
Yeah.
Versus, say, like a 1500 Extreme, which you use on the paint for more of that. In those two scenarios, how much punishment do you think it could take?
Well, with the DS 1200, obviously it's not going to take a rock hitting a rock, right? That's just too much.
Yeah.
But it could take anything coming up and hitting it, like bouncing up and hitting it, or maybe it just kind of glided over a rock. It didn't actually sit there and like pound into it. It could take that kind of, it's a true 10H coating. When it comes to rating these coatings, there's no regulations on it, right? There's no third-party system that's regulating that it has to be tested to make this claim.
Oh, so you guys you're making up your own. You're using a general rule of thumb for a 9H or 10H and assigning it yourself.
Some coatings are.
Okay.
Now, if you can pass the 10H pencil test, then you can use it. At some coatings just don't even test for it. They just say it, right? The raw material manufacturer says, hey, this will be a 9H if you mix it right. Okay, so we have ways of testing these coatings to make sure that they are 9 or 10H. And DS 1200, the 10H pencil test has a pencil that's at a 45-degree angle, and you pull backwards with it, and then you look at it to see if it's scratched through the coating. A 10H pencil is really super hard. It will scratch through a normal lay down level off coating at 200 nanometers, where DS 1200 you can go forward and backwards. It won't scratch through it.
So 1200 is an application that you apply for more rugged application that's going to take direct punishment.
Correct.
And then the coating you put on top, the 1500, that's more for a paint protection, but it can handle some brushing, but I wouldn't necessarily say stab it with a stick.
No, absolutely not. No way.
All right.
Listen, anything's breakable, right?
Yeah.
You know, damage can be done to these things that cause it to get through the coating. But if it's an everyday application, maybe on say a 4-wheel drive like your Tundra or your Tacoma, maybe if you're doing really super heavy rock crawling, maybe we would put a couple of layers on to gain some depth.
Yeah.
Right, and then maybe add 1200 down low where it's coming in contact with everything. So, but on the top surfaces, it's fine.
Yeah, because with off-road vehicles, it's when you go in a muddy area, it likes to go with you, the mud. So by the time you get home, I mean, and a lot of off-roaders, what they'll do is they'll go to the drive-through quarter wash and just dump like pounds of dirt into this thing and ruin this place. First time I did it at home, and that was a horrifying mistake because that was like 4 weeks to completely get rid of all that dirt.
Yeah, right.
So that's the one thing that I've noticed is that from an off-road vehicle, protection is one thing, but also kind of resetting for life. Instead of driving around all the time with the mud on it, you actually can kind of reset yourself, and it's quicker because that maintenance watch. But on that conversation of maintenance, to maintain that the coating itself, what do you have to do to maintain that on, say, an off-road vehicle? Like what would you do to make sure that your coating lasts a long time?
Well, you need to maintain it regularly, right? It's only going to be as good as you treat it.
Okay.
So using what we call decontamination products to make sure everything's off the coating. And then we use different types of soaps, low pH soaps, high pH soaps, to keep the hydrophobicity properties going. Coatings can get what's called clogged. Okay, they're not really clogged. It's just something is stuck to it that will not release. Okay, like back east where we have road salts and stuff like that, they will attach themselves to a coating, and we need to use a different chemical to remove that, to counteract that process. All right, so we use low pH soaps to make that happen. Dirt and grime and stuff like that, that needs a high pH soap to release that off the coating. Once you get it released, then you can top it with products like Speed Coat, or we have another one called Flow-X that's a solvent-based. This is a water-based product. We have a solvent-based product called Flow-X too. That's a topper for our coatings.
Okay, so let's switch gears for a second. So away from off-road vehicles, passenger vehicles. One of the questions that we get a lot is at what point do you do a ceramic coat? So if you have a new vehicle, obviously you can do paint correction, and that's a beautiful time because everything's fresh and new.
Absolutely.
If you have an older vehicle, do you ceramic coat that?
Yeah, it depends. You can ceramic coat anything as long as the paint's in good enough shape to get through the correction process. Obviously, some cars have taken a lot of abuse. You wouldn't want to, unless you went to the classic car aspect of the vehicles, you definitely would want to ceramic coat those to protect the paint so you don't have to repaint them. And then moving on through the years, you want to try to get up into, as an installer, you want to be up into the newer model cars. You don't want to be doing older model cars unless somebody's really taking good care of the car.
Yeah, because it's basically sealing. You get what you get.
Exactly.
Whatever's underneath it is really what you're going to be portraying.
Yes.
And then on passenger cars, if you're just daily driving the vehicle, not really punishing it in any way from UV and just driving around, how often do you perform maintenance? And then what does that maintenance schedule look like with a DuraSlic product?
Yeah, with the DuraSlic product, a lot of them are warrantied. So we like a certified installer to maintenance them at least every 6 months to look at them and make sure everything's okay. And look, stuff's going to happen with these coatings, right? A bird stain hits it, you're away. You're on vacation in Fiji like you always are. That car is going to have a bird stain sitting there for a long period of time. It could make an etching in the coating. That's not a failure. That's a success. Because that would normally be in the paint and you would not be able to remove that. Okay? We can remove the coating and reapply seamlessly. You wouldn't even know it happened on your car.
And how long does that coating generally last?
The coating generally, they have years attached to them. But like we have anywhere from 1 to 7 years worth of protection. Now that's
subjective to the nature. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't,
obviously,
you can't just beat up on the coating and then say, oh, it didn't last 7 years.
Yeah.
Of course not. But also it's there. It's going to be there. With our coatings, we've determined them in a lab to keep, you see behind us this water bead, right? We've tested them in a lab to hold on for these X amount of years. Okay. So our top coating, Extreme, with good maintenance, can hold on to a water angle of 100 degrees for up to 7 years. And we've tested it through a process where we scrub on the coating and then we retest it every 50 scrubs. And we measure it every time to keep that coating. We've determined that 2,000 scrubs is equal to someone washing the car every 2 weeks for 7 years.
That's how you guys figure out the year side of it.
Yeah. So not a perfected test, but there is no perfect test.
Well, it's practical. I think that's the thing. At least you attempt something that looks practical, so you can make some calculations off of that.
Absolutely. And it's in a lab, right? And everyone in this business is going to know that, in a lab, everything's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not going through the different seasons and stuff like that. But we have installers that have been installing our coatings for 5+ years and have no issues on their hands.
So let's talk about that. If I'm a layman, how do I know what's the difference between a good ceramic coating and a bad ceramic coating? What are some telltale signs? And then one other thing I want to talk about is people don't know that ceramic coatings naturally are not slick.
They are not.
They're there's a grip to them. So let's talk about that. How do I, if I'm a layman and I'm a customer, I'm going out getting a ceramic coat. How do I know that I didn't get ripped off? That this is a good quality coat? Is there any telltale signs that I should be looking for aside from DuraSlic, obviously?
No. If you look at your installer and you take a look at his business as a whole, and he seems successful and has a quality shop that he does it in. You look at his people, they look quality. You take a look at his Instagram, you take a look at his Facebook. He has a good record of quality work. Then that would be the person I would tend to go towards. Okay, if you got a guy that's coming over for a mobile detail and he's just washing cars, obviously, I'm not saying they're the worst people, but to get it into a shop where it's a controlled environment is the best case scenario.
So for you, it's actually more about the person and the setup, less about the product.
Absolutely, yes. If you're talking to get the best results, I want the installer to do our coatings that has the best quality in mind, right? Because I'm only as good as what his foundation is.
Yeah, because you're basically putting a cover over what he did.
Correct.
Or she did.
And if he doesn't completely prep the surface,
it doesn't matter.
I could be looking at a failure. Okay? And, it's not easy for these coatings to fail, but we want the best case scenario, right? Yeah. We want the best shot to make this coating last.
Yeah.
So look at your installer. Take a look at his business. Take a look at his reputation. If you have a guy that's already has a successful ceramic coating on his car, talk to him. Who did he use? Those companies are out there.
And let's talk about some misnomers in ceramic coating. So one I mentioned earlier, that ceramic coating is not this oily, slick thing that you put on your car. Right after you get a ceramic coat, you can't run your hand on it and go, wow, that's super slippery, right? What are the misnomers that you've experienced from end user customers of like, hey, like the ceramic coat feels sticky. Is something wrong? Have I done something wrong?
Yeah. Well, they should feel smooth, right? Once they're cured. It'll be smooth. It won't be slick. But we've found ways to add slick materials or waxy type substances to these coatings to bring out a slickness, but it doesn't last. It doesn't last forever. The slickness does not last forever. Ceramic coatings by nature are not slick. They are smooth, but they're not slick. Like they don't give you this super slick feel.
The feathery, soft, silky feeling.
And honestly, to be honest with you, that's an installer complaint more than it is a customer complaint.
Because the customer wants resilience. That's the number one thing. Easy maintenance, wash, and resilience.
Once their car is coated, they're not touching it and feeling it.
Yeah. You don't say, how you doing? Hey, you're having a good day.
Exactly. Oh, this is great. You know what I mean? You want your customer touching their car
as less as possible.
The less they touch it, the better off we are as installers.
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple more misnomers would be like, you don't have to wash your car. That's not true. You have to wash your car. Dirt will still eventually settle onto it. Now it does extend the time that you would have to have your car washed. You know, where a car that's not waxed or not coated might take every week to keep it clean.
Yeah.
Where a coated car, you might stretch that out to 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Okay, so less contact on the car, the better off we are.
So I got one other weird, unconventional question and misnomer that I want to talk about. We sell a lot of carbon fiber car parts from Japan, so aerodynamic pieces. From a consumer perspective, a lot of the products in Japan are not clear coated. They don't come clear coated. They're just polished resin. Okay. And the reason for that is because Japan's a small place. These are all artisan boutique kind of designers. So it's not really a proper place for them to get it clear coated and then allow the time to properly outgas the 30 to 45 days after the clear is on.
Correct.
So they have this polished product, and what's been becoming more popular is they'll take this pure resin, like polished resin, carbon fiber hood, or as an example, and then the traditional way is to get it clear coated, right? Some people are starting to apply PPF or do ceramic coating. Mm-hmm. What is your opinion on that? Because I think it's interesting, because if you buy a piece and you still have to take it to a body shop and get it clear coat, that's time, money, and energy, right? Especially if it's like a hood or something big and you don't have a truck laying around.
Yeah.
Can you ceramic coat a freshly resined carbon piece?
Absolutely, with correction, right?
Yeah.
When we were here, remember Kyle Clark?
Yep.
He corrected that whole carbon fiber hood on the Toyota, right? And he brought it from, it has like kind of this uneven high and low look to it, mm-hmm. where he was able to bring it back to a nice even finish. Then we were able to lay the coating on. Now it's protected. If we just coat it the way it is, it will stick, but it's going to accentuate all that unevenness on it. So we need to get it back to even again. And that's a talent that, you know, certain detailers don't have and certain detailers have too.
Yeah.
So obviously, yes, putting a layer of PPF is easy. You don't have to do anything. You just lay it on there. It basically corrects the car for you. When you're doing ceramic coatings, you need to be able to polish that out the right way, get it even, then lay the coating on top of it.
Yeah, so I think I'm not advocating to clear coat cars completely with ceramic coating in lieu of clear coat, but I think there's an element of DIY that the automotive industry and enthusiasts, we used to do a lot more of, mm-hmm. and it's kind of cool because I'm starting to see people wanting to go back to that, where they're doing their own paint correction and then applying a ceramic coat. And it gives the customer some options, so they don't actually have to wait to go to a body shop to get it done. They can do it themselves. And I think it's a
absolutely.
Fun DIY.
And that's not, it's not impossible to do it yourself.
Yeah.
But if you can have a professional do it, why not?
So you're advocating it's better to do a professional than do it yourself when it comes to ceramic.
Yeah, when it comes to true ceramics. Now, when we're talking speed coat, these are water-based ceramics. Okay, they're giving you the closest we can get to a layer of coating on the car.
So let's talk about speed coat. Mm-hmm. That's a perfect segue into it. So Speed Coat is a product that we're helping you guys out with, and I've used it. It's fantastic. Okay. It's super intuitive to use, easy to use, and the results are amazing. So let's go through it. What is Speed Coat? What does it do, and who is it for?
Speed Coat is for everybody. Everybody should buy Speed Coat from us. I mean, why not? Yeah. Right? I want to sell it to everybody. Everybody who owns a car can use Speed Coat and can protect their car using it. It's very easy to use. It's a little bit technical, but overall, it's a simple way for anybody to lay on a ceramic coating onto their car.
So how does that work? Let's walk through it. Like Speed Coat itself, chemically what is it doing to the car, and how does it apply?
Chemically, it's adding what's deemed as SiO2 is a buzzword in the industry to the car. in a water-based transfer system, where regular ceramic coatings use a solvent-based transfer system to get them onto the car. So it's a little bit different, where you can't have everybody out there laying on a solvent-based ceramic coating. They'll end up with a bunch of highs. It will look horrible, and it will have to be compounded off. Where this is pretty much foolproof. As long as you take your time and work one panel at a time, you can come up with a good to great result. And it's going to give you 4 months worth of protection. Water-based ceramics are able to just sit on top of the surface, and they have some adhesion properties to them, but washing it will eventually wash it away. But you can keep doing it over and over again.
So walk me through the process. I have a car. Let's give 2 scenarios. I have a car that has a ceramic coat, and I have a car that has no ceramic coat.
Okay.
How do I use speed coat for those 2 scenarios?
Okay, the proper way would be to first get the paint clean, right? Wash the car, basically. Okay. Then if you're savvy enough to, you would take detail clay and clay down the surface, right? Make sure there's no impurities sitting on top of the paint, right? Then we have a product called glass and panel prep. Wipe that onto the paint, then go ahead and lay down the speed coat. Now that would be to get you the most protection, right? To get you the 4 to 6 months worth of protection. Now, an everyday user would just wash their car really good, get everything off the paint, then go ahead and apply it. Now, it's going to be a little bit less longevity that way, but they can go ahead and, in another couple months, reapply it again. Go through the same system.
And how do I apply it? Just spray
You would spray it onto a towel, generously onto one microfiber towel, and then have a dry towel with you too, and then apply it to the car that way. Okay, if you spray it on the car, the properties of it try to adhere immediately, and then when you come by and knock it down, you get streaks and smears that way. Where if you lay it on there after it's applied to the towel, it will be a lot better of a cleaner install that way.
Okay, so what if I have a competitor's? I made the mistake and I didn't apply a DuraSlic ceramic coat, and I applied some competitor. Can I still use this, and is there any benefit of using speed coat on an existing ceramic coat?
Absolutely, it's a topper. That's considered a topper, right? You spray it on there, it pumps up the hydrophobicity again. The customer sees a nice water bead, or you see a nice water bead. That's awesome. It's going to wash off, because ceramic coatings, once they're cured, reject everything, right? So this will be able to attach itself temporarily. Maybe you get a month or 2 out of it, and then you're going to have to reapply then. So
either way, ceramic coated or not ceramic coated, speed coat will absolutely work.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then one bottle, how long does it last? Like how many? If you had a 4-door sedan, how many applications do you think you could go through, so that people don't know if they're over applying or under applying?
Well, for me as a chemical salesman, I think you get one car out of this, because I want you to buy more and more product.
Yeah, but as
in real life, you could easily. This is 16 ounces. You could easily do your car 4 or 5 times.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the more you use, the better coat you're going to get. So it's a relatively expensive product. So use as much as you want. You're just spraying it onto a towel. Like I said, the more saturated you get that towel, the better application you're going to get on that car.
Yeah, and we now have it available on Amazon, so we're trying to get more accessibility of speed coat out there. So you can absolutely check it out on Amazon. And I personally, I've used it quite a bit in the Tacoma, and I beat the living hell out of that thing.
Yeah.
So it definitely recuperates a lot of that hydrophobicity and oleophobicity on the Tacoma. It just kind of brings back this luster and kind of the smoothness that you had in the past.
Yeah.
And it's a maintenance thing, and I think it's just like you said, it's like oil changes. Just do them consistently and regularly, and you won't have a catastrophic failure, and you just have prime results.
And it has a wide range of usages too. Like, it can go from the backyard person that wants to use it on their car, right? Just the DIYer, what we would consider a DIY, to a full-blown professional detailer to a dealership application. I mean, there's many uses for this product. I mean, it hits all that range, to top an existing ceramic coating, to top every one of our coating except our top coating is the one that it cannot do.
Now, does it have to be on top of a ceramic coat or paint? Could you use it for other panels on a car? Can you use it? Like your interior?
You could use it on your wheels. You could use it in the door jambs. Interior wise, I don't know that it's going to really do much.
Yeah.
It's not going to have enough of the properties to change the look of a dashboard, let's say. We have other products for that. So interior wise, it doesn't really fit. You can use it on the glass. It'll put a hydrophobicity on the glass where it'll slow down how many times you have to use, how much of a rain that you have to have before you hit your wipers. Okay.
So let's get into the one unique one you just told me about that involves the interior. You guys are coming out with a leather-based ceramic coating,
Absolutely.
Which is very intriguing. Because ceramic coating, generally speaking, we have a lot of the hardness is kind of what we're synonymous with ceramic coatings, and leather is a very pliable material.
Yes.
Walk me through it. What is it called? What does it do? How does it work? It's kind of interesting. It's kind of counterintuitive.
It's called Leather Coat Max, and what's good for the detailing world is it gets people who may not want a traditional $2,000 ceramic coating. They're just not going to spend that money on a car. But like every car that has leather or, basically leather, that should be protected, right? We want it to stop cracking. We want it to stop, if it's a lighter color leather, we want to stop it from getting dye transfer from jeans. That's a big problem with, like, say, white seats or tan seats, right? As you're getting in and out of it, it can transfer from your jeans to the leather, so we can help stop that and reduce that. Spills on your seat, it'll make it hydrophobic, so that spill will be really easy to clean up. And it helps take the abuse that the leather itself is not used to, right? Your kids in the back, spilling drinks, doing all that. It gives you another barrier to take that kind of abuse. And just like a ceramic coating, it can be removed and reapplied anytime you want.
So let's talk about pros and cons. So the pro is this enhanced durability that you gain on leather, which traditionally is not there. It just dries out over time.
Correct.
Does it do anything strange? Does it change the color of it? Just so people are aware of is there any color shifts and that kind of stuff?
I feel like it adds a little bit of luster to the seat.
A depth and a richness to it.
Yeah, it doesn't really change the color. It might darken it just slightly, but it's very minimal. Now, if you apply a layer and then go back and apply another layer, it's definitely going to change the color. It's going to make it shiny and really, really that process. If you needed to rejuvenate a seat, you might want to lay two coats on, and that will bring back that color that the seat has lost.
How about feeling? Like after you apply it, what is the customer going to expect? Is it going to feel any different?
It's not going to feel any different.
Okay.
It's almost amazing that you can add some protection and it's not going to transfer back on to the customer like traditional leather lotions. In the detailing business can get into the sun, into the hot sun, and they'll come back and start to move from the seat to your skin or the seat to your clothes.
Yeah, or you just feel like you're sliding around. The chair doesn't hold you in place anymore. It's kind of slippery. It's cool looking on some of those other material, products, but you kind of slide around. And in like an off-road vehicle, when you're moving around, it kind of throws you around. So after you apply it, how long does it take to apply, and how long does it last?
It takes about probably maybe 4 or 5 minutes a seat. And longevity wise, depending on if we're talking the driver's seat, which gets the most abuse in a car, depending on the weight of the person, not picking out people for their weight. I'm just saying
it's friction.
The weight of the person is gonna impact the amount of longevity and the amount of time the guy's getting in and out of his car. If he drives to work His car sits there for 8 hours a day. He gets back in it, drives back home, and it sits there the rest of the time. We're going to get the most longevity out of it. If a guy's going place to place, getting in and out of his car,
Of course.
more damage to it that way. Or I shouldn't say damage to it. I say more
Wear and tear.
wear and
It's
tear.
just grinding it down.
Obviously. Thank you. That was a good
And so how long, I mean, would it last a couple years?
4 to 6 months.
Oh, 4 to 6 months. Okay.
Yeah.
And then reapplication after.
Reality-wise.
Reality-wise. Okay.
Yeah.
So every 4 to 6 months reapplication is, and this is for showroom quality kind of results.
Correct.
Okay.
And we're talking 4 to 6 months in like the back seat and passenger seat. Driver's seat has different variables into it.
Of course.
Okay, so every different application, every different person is going to get a different result out of it. We pride ourselves to give you realistic expectations.
Yeah, so you can exceed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather under promise and over deliver than give these like, there's coating companies out there these are lifetime coatings. Whose lifetime?
Yeah.
Lifetime of the car, lifetime of the person. How do you make that bold of a claim? Now, it is true that if the car is never compounded on, that coating will be there for a lifetime. But once anything happens to the car, that coating has got to come off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this has been really massively informative, and I'm super excited to hear about this new leather product. And we're going to cut this thing up into bits so that we can have different segments of different reasons. But no, I can't thank you enough for coming in and having this conversation.
Dude, I can't thank you for everything you've done for us, man. It's been a joy working with you, man. I'm amazed at some of the stuff you create, like the video in the background.
That was fun. That was definitely fun.
And then the stuff that we've done too. The Chucks at SEMA, stuff like that, like the Tacoma project. That was amazing, man. I really appreciate everything you've done.
Yeah, and I love the insight. It's rather than a trading company saying this is what we sell, this is how we sell our product, and this is the price points and that kind of stuff. We get this wonderful in-depth conversation about chemistry, about the bonds, of how things actually functionally work, instead of a pamphlet that people don't understand. That's what the one thing I've always appreciated about NanoSlic and DuraSlic is that you guys are the chemists. You guys make this stuff in-house, and when you get the feedback from customers and say, well, it doesn't, like a customer's feeling of that it's not slippery, even though that doesn't functionally change how a ceramic coat's durability is, it matters. And detailers have to deal with this on a daily basis, that expectation of the customer. And the fact that you guys can quickly iterate that by creating a new chemical or creating a new product is just really cool. And that's been the most fun for me, is seeing how ceramic coating can evolve and just hearing all the crazy stuff you guys are doing. Like leather. Let's put it on leather. What do you mean leather? Like that's an odd application for something that's like diamond hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, it is an industry that is evolving all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to add different things to these coatings to have the next best thing.
It's clever. Yeah. Very clever.
And the chemist that we employ, Steve, he's always on me like, Brian, we need to come up with something better than what's out there right now.
He's got a great name, so lines up with me perfectly.
Perfect.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. This is Brian Finn from DuraSlic. We're going to link the product for Speed Coat. We're going to link everything in the description below. We'll have their social media, all of their information as well in the description, as well as ours. If you guys have any questions that you want answered, I will bug the crap out of Brian to answer those questions in a timely manner. He is obviously an expert in the field. He's been detailing his whole life. We actually grew up in the same town, just different time frames,
right?
Which is hilarious. But anybody that wants to know more about detailing, about DuraSlic or any products, throw them in the comments below. I think this is a great opportunity for you to have an expert's voice and opinion and get feedback in that way. Google and ChatGPT doesn't answer all the questions in the most meaningful ways, but Brian can.
And I'll use ChatGPT to answer for you.
Naturally, or we will. But thanks again for tuning in. And if there's any other topics that you guys would like to see in future videos regarding ceramic video, or ceramic coating, or any products that you want to physically see, let us know. I'm sure we can have Brian back here. He's always excited to come to Southern California.
Absolutely.
And DuraSlic itself is an innovative company. So if you guys have problems, I'm pretty sure their chemist Steve can find some clever solution to resolve those. And in modern Japan, we're always looking for the best of the best, especially as we service the automotive community. So we'll see you guys next time. And if you do like this video format, let us know. We're thinking about doing more of these with different topics, suspension, whatever, anything that you guys could possibly think of. So like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.